Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. This is your second solo episode of the year to round out January 2026, if you can believe it. And in this episode, I really just want to share all the ways in which you can work with our team. This is always an episode I enjoy doing at the top of the year because it explains our services, how they work, what's included, how to get started, and really kind of lays the groundwork for the type of projects that we're looking for in 2026. So if this is you, we always invite you to fill out our contact form, mkwcreative.co/contact, and submit your project details there. But without further ado, let's get into all the ways that you can work with us in this new year. Yay. Kiss my aesthetic, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship. To start off, I want to just lay the groundwork by the fact that we are first and foremost a brand design agency. That is our bread and butter. It is what we do the best, in my opinion, is really to help with the branding or rebranding of your business. Important episodes to listen to for this would be our process and how it works. It would be a good idea to listen to the 10 most common rebranding questions answered, which was the end of last year. And really what we do is help with the entire visual identity and visual positioning of your business. That being said, we have two different offers at two different deliverables and two different price points for branding. To even take one step back from that, we do offer consulting services. So if you're not sure which scope of work is going to be best for you based on your business size, your revenue, your goals, your industry, a good place to start would be with that consulting session. So the consulting sessions are 90 minutes long. They are $12.50, and the amount of money that you pay towards that consulting session can be rolled into your brand design project fee because it is kind of the first step in that process. So the two different brand design services that we have what we call a mini brand design and a full service brand design. And those are really based on what we found clients needed the most. So the mini brand design service is typically between $5,000 to $7,000 as an investment. And the deliverables for that service are your logos, your fonts, your colors, your mood board, and your styles. So this could be a combination of icons or patterns, templates, etc. But really the turnover in that is that you have the basics to get you going. This is just kind of the bare minimum. This is the OG scope that we used to do back in 2020. This always starts with strategy. So we always start the first week, we define the brand. We do that strategy session together, which is the same as the consulting. So if you do the consulting first, that was also the strategy session. So the strategy session is a 90-minute screen share go through of your brand questionnaire. The brand questionnaire that we provide to you is about 6 pages long in Google Docs, and it requires you to kind of sit and think with it. There's questions about your position, there's questions about your brand adjectives, your mission, your vision, your ideal client avatar, your goals, your industry positioning, your competitors, what you like or dislike about what people are doing in your space. There's questions about how your demographic feels, the psychographics of what's involved, what are they afraid of, who are they angry at, what kind of language should they use? Because all of this information is really important to us in the brand design process to be able to design a brand with a strong foundation. So that's always week one. Week two of branding for us is starting to design the brand. So we're starting to design the aesthetics. This is where we go to Pinterest. We'll create a Pinterest board with different sections labeled out with logo inspiration, photography inspiration, messaging inspiration, maybe packaging or merchandise inspiration. But this is where we're starting to measure, has what you told us been mirrored to you, back to you in visuals? So the Pinterest board, the mood board, which is a collection of images and color swatches, and then this stock photography album. So we like to source stock or create AI imagery that we can use throughout the project that we can hand off to you that can then be used as part of the brand. So all those images would be royalty free. You might see them in the mock-ups. We might lean on them or use them as inspiration for a future photo or video shoot. But we want to make sure we collect an album of evergreen imagery and video that can come to stand for what we're trying to accomplish in the branding. So that's define. When we're building the brand is when we do our deep dive, one concept method presentation, which is how we pull all the ideas together and show you, really, the client, how all those ideas come to fruition with the logos, the fonts, the colors, and the styles. So you will receive a 10 to 15 minute long video presentation that explains the design work that we've created, how we think it's going to work for your goals, and what it really looks like when it's materialized between social, digital, print, and merch to give you the full picture of the branding. That video presentation gets sent to you via Basecamp, our project management tool. And once you receive the video, there are very specific instructions for reviewing the branding. So when you get the video, you have to watch it first all the way through the first time. Then we like clients to kind of walk away for 24 hours. So walk away, get some space from it, think on it, sit with it. And on the 24-hour mark, we want you to come back and leave any of your notes. All of our brand design processes include one round of revisions. So you got to use it carefully, of course. So if there are tweaks to colors, there's maybe adjustments to logos or taglines, maybe there's some texture that you weren't totally fond of and you want to let us know, that's where we're looking for that feedback. The general rule of thumb with branding is I need you to like it 85 to 90%. It's pretty impossible to get to 100% approval. That's a very high bar. So we're always looking for that 85 to 90% alignment. And it's the reminder that the more people that you show it to, the more opinions you will be given. So take that with a grain of salt as well. If you ask 1,000 people, you'll get 1,000 opinions. People want to feel worthy. They want to feel like they're contributing. They will always give you things that they want to see different. So just know that who you share it with may influence how you feel about the branding. Another kind of common mistake with branding is people designing branding for themselves and not for their audience. So when you view that presentation, especially on the second viewing, we want to make sure you're looking at it through the eyes of your ideal client. That's really important too. Once you've submitted your feedback, you'll book a follow-up call with us and we will walk through any edits that you might have. We will come up with a game plan for those added deliverables, if there are any, and then we'll really kind of get onto a schedule for getting you those assets. We will deliver all the assets via Google Drive, which will have all of the fonts, colors, logos, styles, imagery in it. That's kind of like your bunker. Go back and listen to the episode that's titled like file asset management, where we break down the difference between what goes in Google Drive and what goes in Canva. But we'll also load up your Canva kit for you. So you'll provide your Canva login at the beginning of the branding process, and we'll go in and make sure that your logos are added in SVG format, which allows you to change colors to any of your brand colors in your brand system, which is very important. We'll load in your fonts, and we'll also load in all of those images and the brand recipe, the brand copywriting that we use at the beginning of the process. So all of that will be ready to use, ready to deploy within your Canva. So that's the mini brand design process. The last deliverable of that is a brand guide cheat sheet one-pager, which is a one-page explanation, what the logos are, what they're called, what the color codes are, what the images look like, and what the fonts are. Pretty bare bones. So that is kind of brand design offering number one. That is the mini brand design. Again, price point wise, it's going to put you between 5 to 7. The next step up from that is the full service brand design offer. The full service brand design is everything that I just described, plus the actual multi-page PDF brand guideline that anyone could pick up and then understand how the brand is supposed to function. This is where we have a deep dive on the mission, vision, adjectives, ideal client. This is where we provide any photography, styling guidelines, shot lists, things that'll be used in the actual photo and video side of your business. It's also where we'll break down all the bits and bobs, all the little pieces of print, digital, social, and merch. Labeling out, go for this kind of texture, this type of ink, this type of paper, this type of business card, this letterhead, this folder. We're really going to start to label out all of the pieces that should exist to then communicate the brand. And that multi-page brand guide is a great asset. It's a great investment for your business, especially if you're looking to stick with the same branding for the next 10, 15, 20 years, because it really becomes that Bible you can come back to figure out if things are aligned or not. And especially if you have a large team or if you have multiple salespeople on your team, you run an organization, having a brand guideline is super, super, super worth it. Same thing, all those assets are delivered via Google Drive and via Canva. So those are ready to go. And that would also include the execution on those items. So the business card design, the email signature design, the Spotify playlist, the animated GIFs, the letterhead, like anything that you're seeing in that presentation, we will provide those files for you, social media mockups, for example, so that you have that ready to go, ready to use. So that kind of summarizes your two choices on branding. That full service brand design package is there's a big range in the price points of that, but it can be anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 because of the impact on the size of the organization, the visibility of the branding, the application of the branding, and just the general involvement of the project, to be honest. So there's a lot of factors that kind of go into where that lies, and that's going to depend on your business. So again, mini brand design, 5 to 7, full service brand design, 15 plus is what we're quoting it at these days. Then moving into the next phase of how to work with us, which is something that we implemented in 2025 and I recapped in our My Story first episode of the year, which is our launch packages. So what we've noticed is that when we hand off branding, even if we hand off the brand guideline, there's kind of this fall off where people get super excited. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm so excited to have all this branding. What do I do now? And so we help come up with the launch timeline of how that branding then gets executed. And there are things that have to happen in a certain order to make that work. So things like signage, merch, stickers, things that are physical, you want to order months ahead of time. Then it's the question of, do you want to have an unveiling or a launch party? Is there an in-person component to what it is that you're doing, right? How do we prepare for that? Invitations, signage, swag bags, giveaways, social media coverage, social media promotion. What does it look like to lead up to that kind of unveiling activity? And then the other bit of it could be your social rollout. Like, how does the social media content come to fruition that recaps what it is that you've now done? We'll roll into that usually some kind of interview on this podcast. So you can look forward to those client interviews. You might have just listened to the one from Amador Wine Country last week. So go back and listen to that one. But that's really where we can recap the whole project start to finish. Then we'll use those clips from the podcast as social media content. And then that whole system starts to feed itself. The other thing that could be included in a launch package is a Squarespace website or packaging design. So packaging, stickers, labels, exterior boxes, mailers, postcards, anything that's relating to the actual packaging of your product, hang tags, for example, that could be part of your launch package. And so could, too, the website. So making sure that we've got a Squarespace site that is beautiful, well branded, functional, has all of the links in the right places and all of the spots for people to engage with the brand ongoing in that. So could be merch, could be packaging, could be Squarespace, could be social. So what your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikToks, your YouTube should look like, making sure that all of that gets changed over. So really what you're on for from branding between probably on the low end, 5 to 7, on the high end, 15 to 20, up to 30. Then the launch package is also really dependent on what it is your business needs. So not all businesses need packaging, not all businesses need website, not all businesses need social. So we're kind of going to customize whatever that launch package looks like. It's typically a 2 to 3 month ish long contract with us, and the investment on that is going to be around 10 to 15,000. So for, again, on average, as we're adding all those things together, 10 to 15,000 to get that brand launched. So you've got your branding, you've got your brand launch. Then we have ongoing creative retainer. And this is really exciting because we only take like less than a dozen of these a year, which are deep partnerships with our team to help you execute on any of those marketing needs. So that could look like, and for most clients, it looks like social media content. For some of them, it's print design, document design, internal design. It might be things like events, pop-ups. It might be ongoing packaging requests. Like we work with Avenue 8 to help them with their PR mailers for their canned cocktail company. Those packages on a monthly basis are also very flexible. So the way that we calculate our creative direction packages is a combination of 3 types of hourly. There's strategy hourly, there's design hourly, and then there's implementation hourly. So our strategy hourly, that's going to be your most expensive. That's with me. That's either once a month once a week or once every other week. And that cadence depends on your business and your budget. So that's where we're really laying down the plan. We're coming up with the ideas. We're designing the campaigns. We are dictating the social. We're coming up with the better kind of rollout of your documents and your design work. And that happens again on that meeting. And then that gets delegated out to the rest of our team. The design hourly, pretty self explanatory, is when the design is happening. And then your implementation hourly accounts for getting the post live on social, for communicating with the sticker design people or the signage guys or the merch people to make sure that those assets are handed off correctly. It's not design work, but it does require our time. And so that's where that implementation project management hourly is coming into play. For creative direction retainer, there's again a lot of range because we're kind of creating these custom combinations of strategy, design, and implementation. So most of our clients are finding themselves between the $3,000 to $6,000 per month kind of range. Again, that is pretty flexible based on what you need. We have some clients that have very seasonal businesses. So when they're not super busy on social media, we're redirecting that time and energy towards document, towards strategy, so that we're ready by the next time their busy season comes around. For example, we have some clients that come on because they have an initiative that they're trying to get to in a 6-month period. And they say, we need support leading up to and 1 month following this thing that's happening. That's a great example of a creative direction retainer. And the goal there would be really to help support you in all of your visual marketing needs. So anything that your brand touches, any instance where someone is interacting with the brand and seeing your branding, fonts, colors, styles, logos, etc., that's something that we're happy to help touch. So could cover anything from social to digital to print to merch to event. That would all be in our wheelhouse there. That could also include photo and video direction. So we can get pretty involved from a creative direction standpoint in making sure that the photographers and videographers that you've hired are following a shot list, they're following a mood board, they're following the directives based on what we know your business needs. And we're happy to help oversee that from a creative direction standpoint. So again, to kind of go through the whole thing, strategy session, about 12:50, 90 minutes with me, lay out your whole brand, lay out your whole strategy. That's your kind of most bite-sized, most baby offer. Mini brand design, that's the absolute bare bones, what you need to get going with your business from a rebrand or branding perspective. That's your fonts, logos, colors, styles. That'll put you at about 5 to 7. Full service brand design, dependent on size and impact of the business. That's the whole brand design process plus the mock-ups and how all of that gets executed, plus the deliverables for all of those mock-ups, the design files for signage, for merch, for packaging, etc. That will sit you at about 15 to 20. Then launch. So a launch package, again, is how that actual stuff gets executed. So you could go a mini brand design plus launch, or you could go full brand design plus launch. The launch package is going to be a combination of print, web, merch, digital, social. So that'll look like whatever your business needs. We can pull together a scope of work on how the brand gets launched into the universe, explained to the audience, put into the community, essentially. After launch, you could go to creative direction retainer. Those retainers will sit anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 a month, depending on a combination of 3 types of hourly: strategy hourly, design hourly, implementation hourly. So how you jerry-rig that combination together is up to you based on how it's up to the strategy that we outlined together, but it really comes down to you, the client, how you want to work that out, where you feel you need the most support and where our team can help. And the goal there too is like that can grow and evolve with you. Like certain times a year, you might need more strategy and less design. And then other times of year, it might be the opposite. Maybe leading into your holiday campaign or your summer campaign, you're like, hey, let's bump up the design hours here. I really want to go balls to the walls and make sure that this is out there and this is getting what it deserves. And then we might have extra design hours dedicated in that time period, for example. We really look for those projects, creative direction retainers, to sign on for a minimum 3 months. So that's a 90-day contract, because you really don't see movement on a lot of things until you're at a 90-day mark anyway. If you're part of social media, you understand that. But that could also be for merch, right? Like things take time. Sometimes it's about requesting samples and finding the right sourcing and making sure that we're connecting with the right vendors and the right people, the right teams to execute your vision. So that creative direction retainer, we don't have a ton of spots for. So we're very choosy about who we're taking on and when we're taking them on. And more often than not, we won't take a creative direction retainer unless we've already designed your brand, because the branding portion and the strategy of that is what helps dictate the creative direction side of things. That's kind of the suite of offers. Granted, you could come to us for one-offs like, hey, I need packaging. Hey, I want merch. Hey, I really need help with social. We probably, at the time of recording this in 2026, won't take that on, just because we're looking for those deeper, bigger brand partnerships that can start with branding and then graduate through those different levels. So if it's, hey, I just need one postcard, it's not going to be our team. I would refer you to the Kiss My Aesthetic Facebook group, which is a fabulous resource for these things, and a great place to connect with 7,000 other different creatives. So whenever there's a project that isn't a good fit for us, we will always send people there. But if you're saying, hey, I need new branding, I want to work with you, you're on my list, this episode hopefully helps to recap what that looks like. Now, aside from the client work, moving that aside, there are other opportunities to get involved with MKW Creative Co. And one of the things that I'm working on that I haven't formalized yet is our referral program. So in 2026, I want to get a lot more serious about referrals. I want to get a lot more serious about rewarding people who can refer us to other businesses, because it helps us so much to have a vetted recommendation going into a client meeting than truly talking to people cold or warm, right? Someone who's filled out the contact form but isn't quite aware of us yet. So, in the contact form, the very last box is, I was referred by colon. Please let us know so we can send them a thank you. If you are named in that box, we want to send you $500. And I'm dead serious. So if someone who books with us, and this is the key, someone who books with us for any of the services that I've mentioned, I really want to get serious about sending referral bonuses to the people that are referring business to us. So if you're one of our partners, if you are a copywriter, if you're in PR, if you're just like a super fan and you're like, I don't have a business, but I tell everyone about you, we want to send you cash money. So make sure that whoever you tell is filling out the contact form is putting your name in that box, and that we have your contact information as well. I'm pretty sure we can find you at this point, because a lot of the people that are doing that are definitely taking advantage of those bonuses. And so part of that $500, we can also credit towards your future project. So if you're someone who's come through, wants to work with us, doesn't have the budget for it yet, but is referring us like hotcakes, I'm not really going to put a limit on how much of a referral balance you can build up there. So if you can refer us to paying clients that commit and that can sign the contract and be ready to go, you can start just absolutely racking up a tab of credit to then work with our team. So that's something I really want to focus on in 2026. And it's a great way to make some side money. And again, continue to help us help you by referring us to people that are legit and that could use and benefit from our services. So that's a thing there. And then the last little thing I will shout out as an opportunity to work with us would be through podcast sponsorship. So we are opening up for podcast sponsorship in 2026. The podcast sponsors we've had so far have seen incredible growth and incredible conversion through our podcast. And so we have a few different offers on that. We have 5-episode sponsorship, a 10-episode sponsorship, and a 20-episode sponsorship package. 20 episodes is half of a year. We drop an episode every week. So half of 52 weeks definitely is almost 6 months worth of podcast ads. And it's definitely the most fruitful of the options. I don't have pricing for you specifically for this episode, because it will be dependent on the kind of, I will say, deals that we have in the hopper right now. So the podcast sponsorship, the goal with that is to get it to a place where the podcast sponsors are not only getting a return on their investment, but our podcast continues to grow. And my goal, which we got so close to this last year, my goal is to really get to a place where the podcast pays for itself. All in to produce the podcast, which is Berta, who edits the podcast, plus Sarah, who writes show notes, plus the video editor that puts it on YouTube, plus all the syndication, the planning, Cody to do episode management, my time to record. It costs about $20,000 to run this show every year. So my goal is to get to the point where we can have the podcast sponsorships net zero, the pod, or maybe even draw profit from the podcast. Because with 250 at this point episodes in, we're not going anywhere. The beginning of this year, on the very first episode, I explained all the themes that I have laid out for the whole year, the guests I'm planning to have, the structure that we have that alternates between solo, client, solo, and expert interviews. So I'm feeling really good about how much we've locked in and really created some structure around that. And with those different podcast sponsorship levels, we're also offering like social media content partnerships. So us using your product, sharing about your product, promoting your product through our channels, which have a cumulative 100,000 reach across TikTok, Instagram, Threads, what else? YouTube, Facebook. So good reach, good exposure, good UGC. And then that podcast sponsorship opportunity, I think we've priced very competitively. And so I'm looking to kind of get those case studies in the hopper so that we can go after those bigger brands with the bigger budgets, if you know what I mean. So podcast sponsorship, another great opportunity, would be also really great if you have a time-sensitive offer. So if you're hosting a retreat, if you're having a workshop, if you're doing something that you're offering for a limited time only or to a very specific demographic. I'll tell you the demographic of the podcast is definitely creatives, probably solopreneurs. I'd say majority of our listeners are between years 3 and 7 of their business and are looking for that just actionable branding, marketing, entrepreneurship advice. So I really want to cater to the brands that serve that population, which is why Sticker Giant has been a great partner. It's why Harvest has been a great partner. And we're looking forward to having even more of those in 2026. So that should pretty much do it. Those are all the ways to work with us in 2026. Of course, my DMs are always open, guys. Feel free, shoot me a message, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, anywhere you can find it. Are more than welcome to fill out the contact form if you've got a project for us. That's mkwcreative.co/contact. Our website is going to get a little bit of a makeover and probably will have by the time you're hearing this. So we're going to be working on optimizing all of that this next year. But there's a lot of exciting ways to kind of partner up. And I think the referral fees is really going to get people excited. Again, refer business to us. If they sign, we want to send you $500. So not so bad, not too shabby to start the new year. And can't wait to celebrate whoever those top referrers are, because we so appreciate it. And if you've been a longtime fan and you've stuck around, or if you're brand new to the show and you're like, you know what, this is a cool opportunity. I think they could crush it. We want to reward that and thank you with cash money, like I said. So thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode, or if you know someone who needs what we do, please send them this episode. Please forward it to your friends, your family members, your colleagues who are starting a side hustle or who have a business that like is in desperate need of a makeover. That's our most favorite thing. I always want to sing the Glinda from Wicked. Like, when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over it, because that's how I feel in my job. So if you love that Wicked reference, please send it, save it, share it with a friend. Follow us on YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you're also following us on Instagram and TikTok, because we share the best snippets from each show on those platforms, as well as our recent projects and fun things that we're doing and places we're traveling. So we'd love to see you over there also. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.